Hey y'all, Carrie here. I'm in the mudroom bathroom and today I'm going to be grouting the shower tile. And I'm going to be using Ultracolor Plus. Alright, before we get into the video, I want to talk a little bit about the tile that I'm using. Alright, you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek because the grout is already finished here. I just wanted to show you that this towel has this printed design on it that makes it look distressed. So in the corners and around the edges, it's got this dark printed distressing. It also has some cracks printed in it and this texture on it. So I just wanted to point out, this is not grout that you see here. It kind of looks like it's grout smeared on the edge of the towel, and that is not what it is. If we get up really close, you can see the grout is in the grout line where it's supposed to be. And this is the printed distressed edge. That is not grout. All right, now that I have that cleared up, let's get into the video. So this grout got mixed reviews online. A lot of people were saying that it was difficult to work with and it is not something that a do-it-yourselfer should be using. So today I'm going to put that to the test. So a little bit about this grout. This is a calcium aluminate cement grout. This is not a Portland cement grout that most people are used to. This is supposed to have a lot of advantages over the Portland cement grout, such as it's faster setting, it dries harder and denser, is more resistant to water and dirt penetration. It does not require a sealer. You can use it on grout joints from 1/16 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch. It's supposed to be color consistent, non-shrinking, and efflorescence free. So according to the reviews, the biggest problem that most people had was that it just dried way too fast and it either hardened in the bucket or it dried so fast they couldn't get it wiped off the towel. And the other problem was that they had some trouble with color consistency. So I did some research and I watched some videos and I read all the reviews on the Lowe's website. So the good thing about the Lowe's reviews was not only did I get to read about other people's experiences, but also representatives from the Mapei company responded to people's reviews and gave them tips. So as I'm doing this, I'm going to refer to the tips that those representatives gave as well as the package instructions. So let me go over some of these tips. Alright, so here's a summary of some of the tips that the representatives of the company gave. The first thing is to follow the instructions exactly, and that means weighing and measuring everything. The next thing is to let the bag acclimate to the job site for at least 24 hours. You also want to dry mix the bags because they say that the polymers and the pigments can settle during shipping and storage. So when you start mixing, you only want to mix the amount that you can use in about 30 minutes. So I'm probably going to be mixing 1 or 2 pounds at a time. You're going to use a 3-to-1 powder to water ratio. You want to use clean, cold water. So as you're applying the grout, you want to move quickly. The set time is going to be between 10 and 30 minutes. They say that temperature and humidity is going to affect this set time. It's summer here in North Carolina and it's about 90 degrees and the humidity is through the roof. So I'm guessing that my work time is only going to be about 10 minutes. So I've got to work really fast. So you know it's time to start wiping the grout off when it is set. So if you touch it and it doesn't transfer to your finger, then it is set. But you don't want to wait so long that it sticks to the towel. And another important thing for color consistency is that you don't want to introduce too much water during this whole process. So that means you're following the mixing directions exactly by measuring. When you go to wipe the grout off the towel, you're going to wring out your sponge as much as possible to where it's almost dry. And then if the grout in your bucket starts to harden, you do not want to add more water and rework it. All of these things could remove some of the color pigments from the grout and you're not going to get a good consistency. So now that we've gone over all those tips and rules and tricks, let's keep our fingers crossed and see what I can do. Alright, so I'm getting ready to mix up the grout. The technical data sheet for this product says that if you're mixing a partial bag to use a 3-to-1 ratio by volume, and that's a 3-to-1 ratio of powder to water. So I'm going to be using 3 scoops of the powder and 1 of water. And I'm going to be using cold refrigerated water. Alright, I've been mixing for a few minutes and this just looks too thin for me. The data sheet did say to use the 3-to-1 ratio, but that it was just a starting point and you might have to do slight adjustments. So I'm going to add just a little bit more powder to this. Alright, so I'm just using that much, maybe a 1/4 of a cup, not even that much. Alright, y'all, it's still looking too thin.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add just a little bit more powder. So it's about 1/3 of a cup.
Yeah. That ought to bring it down, hopefully.
Alright, y'all, it's mixed up. I think I finally got it the consistency that hopefully it's supposed to be. I know this isn't Portland cement grout, so it might not look exactly like it. I'm hoping this is right. Before it was just too runny. I mean, you know you don't want it running down the walls, so I think this is gonna work. Alright, y'all, as soon as I had the grout mixed up, I ran to the shower and I started working immediately. I already had my ladder set up and I had my buckets of water and sponges ready to go. This grout had a really smooth consistency, so it was pretty easy to apply. I'm not very fast at applying grout. This is only the 2nd shower I have ever tiled, so I move kind of slow. I was able to get about 4 rows of the tile grouted before it started setting up and it needed to be wiped off. Alright, so I just put this on here like 3 minutes ago, and I touch it and it does not come off on my glove. You can't see it yet. See? It doesn't come off on my glove, and so that is ready to wipe. So it's taken literally 3 minutes for this stuff to set up. After the grout was set, I wiped it down once with a damp sponge to smooth out the grout lines and to get most of the grout off the tile. Then I wiped it down a second time with a clean, damp sponge to get most of the grout off the tile. After I did that second wipe down, there was still a little bit of haziness left on the tile, but I just kept on going. I grouted some more tile, thinking I'll just come back and I'll wipe that haze off later. As you'll see later in this video, I was skipping one very important step in this wipe down process. So that caused me a little bit of trouble, and I was kind of fighting this haze for this whole first half of the day. A little bit later in the video, I'll show you what I was doing wrong, and it got much easier and the grout looked much better once I started doing it right. Alright, so this was the first batch of stuff. I've got it up there. I've got it wiped down one time. I'm getting ready to go back and wipe it one more time just to get it clean, and then I'm going to mix up another batch. So you know how I said to follow the instructions exactly? Well, I was leaving out one important step. So on here, step number 10 says that after you sponge for a second time, to buff to remove any extra haze. So I haven't been doing that. So now I finally have it figured out. After the second sponging, when everything is still wet, I take a microfiber cloth and buff everything down, and it makes everything look perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and use my float and apply the grout like normal. So it's only been a few minutes and this stuff is already set. So it's warmer now, it's in the 80s, and this stuff is setting up really fast. Alright, so first wipe down with a damp sponge. I've wrung it out really well so there's hardly any water in it. Alright, second wipe down, this is to get most of the grout off. I'm going to use this side of the sponge. I'm going to wipe once, then I'll use this side and this side and this side. That way each time I wipe it's the clean side. Now I'm going to go rinse my sponge so I can do that again. Alright, now I'm going to take a microfiber towel and dry everything off. Alright, that's it. And that removes any haze that's on the towel and also any extra water that's sitting on top of the grout. I think that little bit of extra water is what made my grout earlier discolor. So now that I've used the microfiber, the grout looks perfect. There's no discoloration. It's real pretty and even. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and show you the grout, and then I will tell you my thoughts about it and give you my review. Alright, here's a quick overview. Alright, first let me show you over here where I did it properly. This is kind of what you saw in the beginning. Remember, this is not grout. This is the distressing printed on the tile. That is not grout. You can see the grout right here, and it looks good. There's no discoloration. And I think it turned out pretty good. Now over here, where I was not doing it properly, there's a little bit of discoloration. You can tell it's just a little bit lighter. It almost has like a milky finish to it. And that's because I wasn't wiping the water off with the towel. So it's not that bad. Like when you step back like 2 or 3 feet, you can't even tell. You have to get right up on it to be able to tell. But so yeah, even where I messed up, it looks fine. I'm not sure I picked the right color grout for this towel. I think I should have picked something darker. Because when it gets wet, it gets darker and it looks a lot better. But live and learn. Alright, so what are my thoughts about it? Do I like it? Yeah, I like it. I think it turned out good. Do I think do-it-yourselfers can do it? I don't know if I can answer that question for everybody, but I'm a do-it-yourselfer and I did it with not much experience. This is my 4th time grouting, so I have a little bit of experience. I think the only thing you really need to keep in mind is the set time. Like mine was setting up in like 5 minutes. So if you did a big section and let it sit for like 20 or 30 minutes, then it probably would dry and stick to the towel and ruin it. So as long as you're aware of that going into it, I think you'll probably be okay. Mix small batches, but you know, what fun is a project if there's no chance of absolute, utter failure? Keeps you on your toes. So overall, I like it. It was fairly easy to work with. If I had read the instructions properly the first time, it would have been even easier. Yeah, the biggest thing was just the set time. In some of the reviews, people were talking about it setting up in the bucket before they could use it. I did not have that trouble. I did mix up small batches, so it probably didn't sit in the bucket for any more than like 20 or 30 minutes. So I didn't have any issues with that. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for tagging along on this experiment, and thanks for watching.